Got pieces cut out here for a shelf bracket. These will be the top piece. These will fit together like this, and then we'll make a web to go in the middle of it. Okay, these are the boards they cut out for diagonals, and they're going to go like this. There'll be a longer one then that goes up in the middle like this, and then this plywood that I cut out will go on each side, sandwich those to make a bracket. I have a rafter square over there, and I laid out two of my pieces, the short legs of the equilateral triangle, and I'm going to screw some blocks down there for guide blocks. And I want space here and here and here for these to put brads in there. I'm going to glue those together, and I'll fasten with brads. So these pieces are just a little bit too long. I'll go ahead and cut some blocks off of these with the radial arm saw. These are just leftover pieces from cutting these boards out here. And these little thin strips are somewhat prone to splitting, so I'm going to go ahead and drill a hole through them. Corner there, that won't hurt anything. I'm starting to assemble these brackets, these diagonal brackets. These will be the, I'll take the knife and just take a little bit of the fuzz off of these joints where they were cut, the 45s. I'm going to put one of them in here in this jig and line it up, and then a little bit of glue, carpenter's glue on 45 on the other one, and then kind of just stick it in there. And we've got the diagonal. The hypotenuse, put a little glue on the 45s on it. And I'll have to raise one of them up a little bit to get it in there, because everything's pretty tight. Okay. Got a couple of these brackets assembled, and it was kind of a learning curve on that. It didn't go quite the way I had expected. I got a couple of brad nailers, finish nailers, and my intent was to take one of them and nail in some 2-inch brads in through the side here to hold these all together, and then take another one with some 5/8 or 3/4 inch brads and nail down these plates, this little bit of plywood. And what happens is you can't get a square shot on the brad nailer in here, and because the brads, or the little finish nails here, are so thin, they kind of wander. Oh, they wound up going down into the table. Go ahead and put glue on the stringers here, and then put the plywood on and nail it down with the brads. I don't have any adjustment on this damn thing for the feed, so it winds up overdriving the brads. So once I get the first one done, then I'll go ahead and put the brads, the finish nails in. Another one done. Oh, let's sand these down, trim them up and stuff. I went and found a little air regulator and fixed it up to set in this line for this one brad gun, and I adjusted the air on it. I finally got it down to where the nails are just past flush. They're not driving them so deep. I had to adjust it down to 45 pounds. I can't adjust the whole thing down because I need the air pressure in the one gun to drive those 2.5 inch finish nails in. Okay, so that makes 12 of them. I've got enough of everything for one more except for the diagonals. Actually, I've got enough of these for several more of them. So I found a flitch over there that we'd just an end that we'd run through the planer at the same time we run these other boards through the planer, but I didn't cut it out or anything. I didn't need it, so I went ahead and set it up on the radial arm saw and ripped out a blank here, and then went ahead and made another piece. So we'll go ahead and finish this thing now. This will be the last one, number 13. That's 13 of them. We've got to let the glue dry on these, and then we'll sand the edges down and get everything all trued up. We've got all of these braces here edge sanded, and it turned out pretty nice. So I'll take the palm sander now and go over these flat sides of plywood and get those smoothed off, and maybe just round over those edges a little bit. And I got a little Makita quarter sheet palm sander there, and I got a sheet of 120. Well, this is the last one. These are the diagonal braces for the shelves. I've just gone over it with a palm sander and just kind of taken off any glue spill outs and the edges here where they're rough from sawing, taking the feathers off of that, just rounding them over a little bit and just kind of smoothing them out a little bit. Any rough spots, pencil marks, stuff like that. Nothing too spectacular. Okay, that's good enough. I'm not sure what kind of finish we're going to use on these. We'll paint them or something like that. Those are all done now, so this part of it, these are ready to go together onto the
So
brackets.
there's the pile of the braces, the diagonal braces.
They're all sanded up, all smoothed up, and so the next project will be to start putting things together. I'm trying to figure out exactly how I've been going to put this together, and I didn't have an exact plan. I mean, I had a plan, but I wasn't exactly 100% sure what I was going to do. I've got these two wide boards cut, and one of them is cut 16 inches and the other one's cut 15 1/4. So when they go together here, the outside dimension is 16 inches all the way around. and that makes the inside dimension 15 1/4 all the way around. And I tended to put those together like this in a T, or not a T, in an L, and then glue those, nail those edges together, and then put this brace in the middle here. Well, I wasn't sure whether I wanted to put the brace down all the way on one side like that, or put it in the middle. What I have to do is I have to screw this into the wall through this plate, and I've got to go into plastic tabs in Echo Block forms through the sheetrock and into the plastic tabs, because I don't have studs in the basement wall. We just have the tabs in the styrofoam and the foam insulated forms. So anyway, this is what I've got laid out. Now these boards are what do they say they are? They're 4 and 11/16 inches wide, and so that effectively makes them 4 and 10/16 inches wide. It makes it easier to divide. So half of that is 2 and 5/16 inches wide. So the center of that would be 2 and 5/16. And these brackets, these braces, are an inch and an eighth thick. So I could find the center of these boards and then make a mark. An inch and an eighth would be 9/16, half of that. So I could make, you know, a mark 9/16 and lay these up there and whatnot. But doing some math, some subtraction and addition and division and multiplication and logarithms and all kinds of stuff. Anyway, I come up with this little form here, and it's just some pieces that I had left over. That these were the ones that were too thin to go in here in these brackets, these braces, and I cut them down. I cut the angles off of them. I mitered an angle on this one, and then just made a little stand right there like that. And now I can, when I put that in there like that, that locates those braces on center. So then all I have to do is squirt some glue on there and put them in together and shoot some brads in, some nails in from the other side. So all I need here is a line as a guide for nailing, to run nails into these brackets, into these braces from the back side. So rather than measuring each one of them out individually, I just I went ahead and cut a piece of plywood 2 and 5/16, and just a little shy of 2 and 5/16, give room for the pencil mark. And then I can just put these boards down like that, lay this board on it, draw a line on it, and that gives me a close enough line for a guide. It doesn't have to be too precise, because it's just for driving nails. Squirt a little glue on that. Now this glue's a little thicker today than it was last night when I was finishing up those brackets, those braces, because I left it out here in the hanger overnight, and it's a little chilly out here. So take this brace and smear some glue this side, and I'm just laying it. I've got that guide that I made in there. Lay it right in there like that, and go ahead and put my nail mark on the wrong side. Should have watched that, I guess. So that makes it a lot easier than trying to measure it. Okay, there's one shelf brace all put together. I've got 12 more of them to do. Get a little bit of squirt out of the glue on the edges there. That's just fine. That's nice. That'll be nice. That'll work out good. Okay, all 13 of them are together, all nailed up, glued up, and let them sit overnight or a little bit longer since it's cold and damp out here to let the glue dry up. And then we'll take them up to the house. This one's got a little, I put the knot on the wrong side of that one. The rest of them, most of the rest of them, I realized what I did and made sure and turned them over so the gaps and the knots were out of the way. Well, anyway, these are boards on the outside. The frames are yellow cedar. They were flitches that we milled down from the sawmill. The framework on the inside, these brackets, they're a mixture of spruce and hemlock, Sitka spruce and hemlock. Again, flitches that we milled down on the radial arm saw, milled down from the sawmill and then took down on the radial arm saw. And the outside of the braces is 1/4 inch plywood. I guess that's Luan plywood there, but it's just some scrap that we got from somebody that was left over from, I believe, from floor underlayment when they're putting out a new carpet or something, but I'm not 100% sure. But anyway, it's all sanded down nice, and so we'll do a little cleanup work on the fuzzes on the saw marks on the ends of those, and scrape out the glue overrun once it dries up. They'll go like this. This side here is the short leg. That'll go down against the wall. The long leg will go out like this, and then we'll put a shelf on top of that. Well, there's 4 of the shelf brackets there. My wife got those all painted up. She had a hard time getting the paint right on them because the store that we bought paint from, they changed affiliations from True Value to something else, so they changed paint brands, and so the formulas weren't the same, and the first batch that she got wasn't matched the old paint at all. This is the paint that we had on everything here. The other shelves that we made in here and stuff, it's just a little light blue-gray. And she says this matches. You could fool me. I couldn't tell the difference, but she could tell the difference. I suppose I could have after looking at it for a while. But we got 2 sheets of 1/2 inch CDX plywood, and I cut those into 2 foot wide sections, so we have 4 sections 8 feet long. And I would have got AC. I would have liked to have gotten AC, but it's so doggone expensive here at the CDX will work just fine, and it one's not quite as pretty, but it'll work fine. And she's got that all painted with floor and porch enamel, or porch and deck enamel, whatever it is. It's the hard stuff that we painted the shelves with and the tabletop with over here, the workbench with. That stuff hardens up real good. Now I have to figure out where to put the shelves. I'm going to put them down about 2 feet from the ceiling, or where the ceiling would be if we had a ceiling in here. I was just going to put them 1 bracket up on each end and then 1 in the middle, which would have made a 4-foot span, but I think I'm going to divide those up in the spans a little bit, and because they're just going in these plastic ties. Don't have any studs to find, just have sheetrock over these styrofoam insulated forms. The mudder, the guy that came in and mudded for us, did such a good job. We can't find any of the screws in there. You can't see them. What I did before I made the wall, or before I put the sheetrock up, is I took a straight edge. I marked the location for where each one of those strips were up there with a pencil on the floor. Well, I'll take a plumb bob and hang from the wall up there and line up a couple of those, and then we'll have a place to put the screws into to hold those brackets on. Now, this is a sample of what the wall is behind the sheetrock. It's 2.5 inches of styrofoam with the concrete on the back side of it, and this one's been weathered so you can see how these strips are in here, and they're about 1 inch wide and they're on 8-inch centers all the way across that block. This is what I'm shooting for, is these, and we can just use wood screws to screw in. So we'll have to go in through a 1/2-inch sheetrock, and I think there's like a 1/4 inch of styrofoam or something like that on the outside of these panels, on the outside of these plastic ties. So, and then we'll make sure we get good enough screw going into these panels to hold everything. Got the plumb bob hanging right there on that line that I drew on the floor. And I could use that line then to measure over 8-inch centers, but I'm going to go ahead and mark 2 or 3 of them so I can cross-reference it. I only have an inch wide tab to hit, so I want to make sure I have it lined up pretty accurately. Went ahead and laid out some more lines and figured out where my end is going to be. I've got the double mark up there for that, and this will be the other 8-foot end down here. I'll put one on this end for the 8-footer, and then that way it'll double over and it'll hold the shelf, the second shelf going over. So get that first one up first, and then get that one up. But anyway, the 2 shelves will butt up together right there on that joint. And so I've got it laid out. I went 7 feet up off the floor and drew a mark on the wall there. And then I drew one on both ends, 7 feet up off the floor. I've got to go find a chalk line and snap a chalk line there. That'll be the underside of the shelf, the top of the brackets, and that'll put the shelf, the top of the shelf right at 2 feet from the ceiling. We got the shelf brackets up there. They're square and level. They don't look like it on the camera here, but they turned out pretty good. So I'll go get the shelf and put up on there and get it set up. So the bottom of the shelf was painted with the same trim coat, the same interior house paint as the brackets. So that looks pretty good. We'll get the other one done. I got the second shelf board up, so that's one long shelf. It'll be 16 feet long, and I did that one just kind of mirror image of what I did the first one. I pulled the first bracket in 8 inches, and then the other ones I went exactly the same, so we wound up with 7 brackets there. Hey, these are the boards I've made up for using for trimming out the shelves. These are hemlock. They came out of a hemlock 2x12 that was almost 18 feet long, 17 and a little better than 17 feet long. First thing I did was I cut that plank in half. Actually, I cut off 8 feet off of one end of it, and I was just going to use it. And then as my shelf project expanded, I decided I was going to need some more of them. So I took the 9-foot section, and I ripped these down into 4-inch wide sections on the radial arm saw. Then I took the 6 boards that I had out of the planks and run them through the planer. Run both faces through the planer first, and took off all of the saw marks and all of the old dirty wood on the outside. And then I just took them up on it, stood them up on edge, and run them through the planer edgeways. Could have run them through the jointer, but I didn't want to get the jointer out. It's put away for the winter, and I've got nice dryers and stuff on it, and I didn't want to drag it out to use it for this, so I just run them through the planer. Once I run them through the planer, had all 4 edges planed up on them, then I set up a dado blade on the radial arm saw and run a rabbet on one edge of each one of these. This rabbet is a little over, well, right about an inch deep, and this way, so there's plenty of room for that plywood to sit on to support it. And then it's a 1/2 inch. It actually mates up perfectly to the 1/2 inch plywood, which is not a 1/2 inch. I don't remember what it is exactly. Once I run the rabbet in them, then I decided I didn't want that full width, which was after planing both edges, it was not quite 4 inches, about 3 7/8. So I ripped these down into 2 3/4 inch wide. And I've still got 2 boards down there to be ripped, but that long rips like this on this thick wood is pretty tough on that radial arm saw, and the thermal switch kicked out on it. So I'll have to wait till that cools off to finish up those other 2 boards. Once I got these rabbets done and that ripped to width, then I brought it up here and put a round over bit in the router and rounded over the 2 bottom edges of this just to soften that up a little bit. Now take and miter these off in 45 degrees, and this board is over 9 feet long, so it'll span the gap where those two, or the joint, the place where those two shelf boards, the 8-foot pieces of plywood, meet up together. This will span that, and so it'll give it plenty of support where those two pieces of plywood
There's
meet.
the first one just tacked up there. I've just got clamps on it holding it up. I got a miter on this corner. I'll cut a short one to go across there to trim that out on that end. And then I got a miter on the edge over here. See that where that clamp is right there is where the two pieces of plywood butt together, so that'll give that plenty of support through there. And then put a little miter there, and I'll put a reverse 45 on the other piece and run it the other way. Well, once we get those fitted up there and get them painted, then we'll put some glue and screw that edge down, and that'll make a nice straight edge on that plywood and trim that edge out real nice. I've got my rim board, trim board, whatever you want to call it, fitted up on this shelf unit. The edge board there, it's come off of one of those ones that I just cut. I'd left in the shop in the hangar because the saw had overheated, and so I just cut those. I still need to take it down and run it through the router and get the edges rounded over on it, but that fits up pretty good there. And then we got a miter joint here. That joint's going to just about disappear, and that hemlock is stiff. It's strong and it's stiff. Once that plywood is glued and screwed into that, that'll maintain a nice straight edge. It's not going to bow or anything. Another thing, I wanted to put another shelf up above this door, and the use of that was just going to be to store the paper goods, toilet paper and paper towels up on there, so just the real light stuff. Problem was that the door is almost 8 feet wide. I have a sheet of plywood up on that side over there, so I had something solid to screw into. But on this side over here, the way those plastic tabs were laid out, I couldn't get close enough. Well, I finally figured out that I could run the screws in through and into the form boards that I have in there when we formed out the door frame. So that's what I did, and that just makes it wider, so that bracket is wider than what the shelf board is there, but the shelf fits on it just fine. It's got enough support. It fits right over that strut. So anyway, it goes into good solid wood there, but there was nothing to put it into in the middle. There's no way to support anything there. So I took one of those brackets and I put it up overhead. I found one of the straps, the plastic straps in the forms, and I run screws into it, and then I screwed the plywood up to it from underneath. So that's going to help hold that up and give it some support. And I'm going to go ahead and put one of those cutoff boards crossed underneath it for a ledger board there on the wall, and then we'll have a trim board on the outside of it here like the other one to make it more rigid. So that's going to be okay. It's not the best shelf in the world, but it's going to be okay for what we need it for just holding the paper goods and stuff and keeping it there handy. Not a very good shelf, but it'll work for what its purpose is. Okay, we're getting the trim boards painted. I went down to the hangar and grabbed the cutoffs from these boards. When I had these boards were originally 4 inches wide, and then we milled them down on the planer down to 3 7/8 or whatever. Then I cut them down to 2 3/4 inch wide, which left these strips here as the leftovers. And I went up and got those and brought them down here. I rounded over one edge on them there to soften it up. And I'm going to take those and screw them up to the wall underneath the shelf to help support the wall and the side of the shelf board. You got that, I guess you call it a ledger board or whatever, underneath that shelf. Got it put up. That trims that out pretty nice in there, and that'll help hold that shelf up, especially on this one where you don't have a whole lot of extra support on it. Should be good enough to hold up toilet paper as long as it's not wet.
You're getting officially done.
Shelf is officially done. I'm not going to lay on it or bounce on it or anything, but it's stiffened up pretty good with that trim underneath, and then this piece on the outside that pulled it all down pretty straight and stiffened it right up. So I'm pretty happy with that. That should hold a couple of doohickeys on it.
Doohickeys? And you got a couple boards left over.
Well, I still got to do that other.
Oh, the finish the other side? Okay.
The other shelf there. Yeah. Well, the shelf units are all together, all done. Glue should be all dried on them. They're ready to start stacking stuff on them. This is a 16-foot shelf unit over my workbenches, and I've got the trim boards up all around it, all screwed and glued down to those. That straightened that edge out pretty good. Got miter corners on the corners, and then down here in the middle, or just past the middle, made a scarf joint. That's just two 45 miters, one reverse miter. Then I took a piece of the 1-inch stock, the cutoff stock from those outside trim boards, and screwed it onto the backside to support it, to pull it out. So we've got the trim boards underneath there, and that one's all ready to go. I'm pretty happy with it. Putting those trim boards in on the back there, and that helps support that back edge of that shelf to keep it from sagging. And then the shelf is screwed down to it too, so that gives some more anchor points for it. But I'm not going to do chin-ups on it, so it'll probably be okay. Now here's the shelf over the door. That's the one we're going to use to store the toilet paper and paper towels and light stuff like that. That's going to be okay. I'm not real happy with it because it didn't have anything to put underneath the middle of it for a hold up. I put one of those brackets on top and screwed in from the bottom into it. Pulling on it and stuff, it's actually pretty good, and it's not very nice looking on this side because that bracket sticks out past the plywood, but it supports the plywood on both ends, so it trimmed out pretty good. I got the shelves all filled up. It didn't take very long, and I got my workbenches cleaned up a little bit. So, and my shelf unit over here, the working shelf unit, I got it kind of straightened out to where I can use it now and work off of it. So I've got most of my airplane supplies and stuff up there on that shelf, shop towels and paint and a few other odds and ends. So I got my workbenches, like I said, cleaned up, straightened up, so I get ready to go to work. There's Haji. He's been helping me, coming in here and help me clean up by chasing the ball around. Now here's the shelf unit above the door, and it's all filled up and doing its duty. So we got paper towels and toilet paper and a few other odds and ends up there, and doesn't strain that at all. We got quite a bit of stuff off this main shelf unit, so we'll get some work straightening it out. But anyway, I'm pretty happy with the way things turned out here now. It looks a lot better than it did, and they're holding up so far. Haven't heard any creaking or groaning out of them. What, you ready to go to bed? Huh? You ready to go to bed? Okay, I'm all done. We can go to bed now.